Hi everyone, welcome to the 26th webinar in 12D's training webinar series. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator here at 12D Solutions. 12D's training webinars showcase common industry challenges, taking a close look at industry best practices and how these can be implemented using 12D model software. The aim of these webinars is to upskill 12D model users and broaden their understanding of the capabilities of 12D model. We run these webinars regularly and record them for posting through our website and on YouTube. The first 25 webinars from this training series, as well as the 25 webinars from our Industry Solutions series, are available on our YouTube channels if you missed those. During this live presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, as shown on the screen, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. At the end, I'll also read out some of your questions to the presenter for his insights if there's time. Today's webinar, Setting Up Environment Configurations, will be presented by Graham Winfield, who has over 20 years of experience in the industry as a civil designer on projects including motorways, highways, tunnels, airfields, mining, dams, and rail. This webinar will explain how to use environment configurations for controlling your company setup or using multiple customizations. It will provide information on environment variables, setup files, search paths, and more. Over to you, Graham.
Thanks, Lisa. Hello, everyone. So today we'll be looking at setting up our own 12D customization. There are many ways that this can be done. I'll be covering the method of using the environment configuration file. There is a simple editor to do this, but first we will need to understand how 12D works. There are two areas where 12D stores customization files, the setups and library. Setup files define how 12D works and are only read when the project is opened. Changes only take effect after 12D is restarted. Library files are referenced and they can be accessed at any time. There are three sets of optional environment variables that set the location of the setups and library areas. Setups and library are used to point to a location for the base customization. By default, are provided by 12D. User and user lib are used by the organization to point to their customization. This could be for the organization's default setup and will be found before setups. Customer user and customer library are used by the organization to point to their additional customization. This could be regional specific like country, state, province, and they will be found before the user. The search path order is the biggest single thing to understand about how 12D works. The 12D model search path order is made up of 12 locations that are looked at one by one. Once the file is found, the search will stop. There are some exceptions to this with includes, and I will cover this shortly. Help has the full details of the search order. Searching order for setup files is found in the Setting Up and Configuring 12D section. I will simplify this search order to just 7 locations. The first one is individual environment variables. Most setup files have an environment variable that can be used to define file name and folder location. For example, colors_4D is used to define the colors definition file. Second is the working folder. Setup files in this folder are only used for the current project. This location can be used to test a setup file before adding it to an organization setup. The third one is set by the variable customer_user_4D. This can be used for local region content. The fourth is set by the variable user_4D. This can be used for your organization or government authority setup. The fifth is the default user location. This is an empty folder created by the install. And where it says version, that will be version 11, 12, whatever version is installed. The sixth set is set by the variable setter_ups_4d. This can be used, but is best to be left as the installed content. The seventh is the default setup location and contains the installed content. So don't change or add files in this folder, as they will be erased with the new install. So to summarize, the search looks in this order until the file is found, then stops the search and uses the found file. So what can be customized? So views can have favorites and view favorites view positions. Organization menus and toolbars can be added. Panel defaults can be set. Keyboard shortcuts to commonly used commands can be defined. New projects can have default settings set, the view layout defined, and macros and chains run. Existing projects can have macros and chains run at project start. Both project types use all the other setup files. How the data is named and looks is set by many setup files like colors, text, and name setup files. There are setup files that control how data is read into and out of 12D. Plots can be output to many file formats, and presentation style can be saved to provide consistent organization standards. Chains are used to maintain workflow and are a great record of the steps used to complete a 12D project. Everybody should be using chains. They can be very simple or use decisions and parameters. Macros allow users to enhance the existing 12D model package by writing their own programs to save time on repeatable tasks. As you can see, 12D model can be customized in many ways. So what are includes? Includes are nested setup files. The found setup file can reference another setup file, but not all setup files can use includes. There are two types of includes. There's reference and auto-combining. Reference includes find a file in the search path and stop searching. Auto-combining includes can have many files with the same name anywhere on the search path. These files cannot use includes. This means that there can only be one file that is used. It can still be found anywhere on the search path. If the file is customized, it will need to be manually checked for any updates when new versions are installed. For example, the first 2000 colors are reserved for 12D. So create your custom colors from 2001 onwards. Each new version, you should check for updates to the first 2000 colors. My focus for today is to show how to use 12D customization features to minimize the need to manually check for adding content with a new version. This list of files, if customized, needs to be manually checked for updated content from the new 12D install. This is a list of files that already point to files that you can use to add customization. There is no need to modify these listed files. They use the reference style of includes. These files point to another setup file that is not supplied by the install. In this case, the included file has the same name as the above list, but with the prefix of user underscore. For example, user underscore extrusions.4d is referenced by extrusions.4d. User underscore extrusions.4d is where you add your customization content for extrusions. The last two files in this list use the reference type of include, but there are some minor differences to the other setup files listed. Extramenu.4d is more of a 12D solutions file and has the ADAC menu file as an include. So don't modify this file. User menu.4d is not shipped with 12d, but is used to adding your own menus. This is part of the plotters.4d file opened in a text editor. On the 5th line is the #include_silent command. This is pointing to the user _plotters.4d. Users _plotters.4d is where you add your own customization and custom plotters. Inside the users _plotters.4d file, you can have many included files. This is a list of files that use the auto-combining method of includes. This means that many files with the same file name found on the search path are combined when 12d starts to form a total list of the contents. The drainage.4d file previously used the reference type of include. Now when it is opened and saved with the drainage.4d editor, it is converted to an XML file type. The drainage.4d file uses the auto-combining include method when it is a XML file type. Otherwise, it will still use the reference include method. This is an example of the table style file. The panel on the left is the initial panel where you choose to edit, create, or view a table style file. The setups area has the view beside it. This means that the file exists, but can only be viewed, not edited. The user area has edit beside it. This means that the file exists and it can be edited. The customer and working folders have create beside them. This means that the file does not exist, but it can be created. The panel on the right is when you have selected one of the areas to view or edit. In this example, the table style in the working folder is being created. The includes branch is where the other files' contents are displayed. The drafting branch is where added content can be created by adding a child branch and adding content, or using a copy and paste button to copy existing styles to modify. It is best to give the copied style a new name. So why the configuration method? But before I say why the env configuration method, here are some other ways to control the customization. The env file can be in the search path. The env file can be pointed to by a desktop shortcut, and it can be pointed to a job or to a customization. The env file can be pointed to by a Windows environment variable. Whenever you point to a non-shipped env file, you may miss from the content from the new version. Up until version 10, there was minimal changes to the shipped env. From v11 onwards, the installed customization has been greatly improved. Using pre-v11 setup files can cause problems with plotting, or new features may not work. The environment configuration method is like the index of everything about how 12D model works. Just point to this one file when 12D starts. This method helps maintain current 12D model features by using shipped content as the base of a new customization. It allows many customizations in the one file. It allows for access to many different modules, configurations or dongles. And it allows for setting a workspace at project start. Alright, so now I'll jump across to 12D and show you a little bit about using the environment configuration. The first thing I want to show you is how the search order and includes work. To do this, I will create 3 customizations in the env configs file. So I'll create a new project. I'll put it on my D drive where I have my jobs. And we'll call this new project ENV configs. So it's a good idea to always have a working folder for each project, and that can be created for you with this tick button here. The advanced tick button down here gives you access to the registry file, and this in turn controls what environment configuration, what dongle configuration and workspace you use. At the moment, we don't have anything set up. I didn't clear it from before. So what we'll do now is we'll go and edit this file by setting the menu button and pressing open. All right, so I didn't clear this before starting, but what we've done here, I'll clear it now. Pretend it was already like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is create 3 new environments. The first one is going to be 12D Solutions. I hit right. Every time you create something, you press right before going to the next branch on that panel. And this will be out of the box install customization. Now I'm going to add in a new environment called Xcivil for my dummy company name. Go right, and the third one will be just a temporary one for my working. So there's 3 environments, and they're basing it all on the shipped ENV file. So that means that you can only use the one ENV file, and that will mean that you get any changes that come with new versions are still maintained. And where you do your additions or changes is in this area here where you do your overrides. So for our company customization, I'm going to have a quick look in adding a few, add the location of where we're going to find this customization. One way to do that is to use this define the ENV overrides button, which throws you into the ENV editor. I'll go into this a little bit later in more detail, but for the time being, I'll just go and create some new folders for the user _4D. So I'll go down to civil, Xcivil, user, and then same for the user library. I'll go and browse to the Xcivil user library. When I hit the right button and then finish, it's populated this with those 2 variables plus all the other extra ones that are come through with the new ENV file. I will clear out these extra ones here for the time being and go right so that I don't lose that information. So now I've got 3 environments, and it mustn't have set. So we'll do this again. Okay, right. This time I'll do it differently. I'll copy these 2 lines and I'll paste them into Xcivil. All right, so that's good now. I'll go right, and now we've got them there. All right, so there's 3 environments to start the ball rolling with. So now when I've got my new project I'm creating here, I can go to and select a configuration and hit the new button. So the first thing I'd like to show you is the output window. Just drag this up. So the output window is your friend when you're creating customizations, because it tells you everything about where files are found, and if there are any error messages, they'll come under this output window. So we can see here that it's found the env configs file, and we're using the 12D Solutions environment configuration. The important variables, so setups, user library and user library, are pointing to the program files, and then also to the C drive standard location for user and user library. So the extra menu, it's found a file here in the C drive user location called user menu. So what I've got here is just a new menu for personal stuff that's in that location. Continuing down, we've got all the setup files, and you can see here where it's found all the colors file, all the fonts, sheets, drainage, all the list of where files are found. So when you're working on a particular file, you can see where it's found and if it's ready and okay. This file down here, table styles, is found in the user. So that's the auto combine type of includes file. So if we have a look at that one, CAD table styles, you can see here the setups is there for viewing, and then there's one in the user. So we'll edit that one. And so here it is, aerial personal is a table style. And there it is here as an include from the user location. And then setups has 3 different supplied ones. So it's combining these 2 files to make the one list of available table styles. All right, so now what we'll do, we'll change to a different environment. So project open, we'll select the same project. It remembers the previous one, but we're going to now change that to be Xcivil. All right, so having a look in the output window, we can see that it's now using the Xcivil environment configuration. It's now changed the user and user library to point to a different folder where this customization lives. It has also found a user menu in that folder. If we have a look now, it's now called Xcivil. So looking further down here, generally they're all the same, but now it's finding a table style in the Xcivil folder. If we have a look at this one, table styles, and go into to here, it's now got one called Xcivil, which is the same here, Xcivil, that's the file we're editing. It's also an include, and the setups have still got the original one. So it's auto combined, but from a different folder now to grab that customization. So what we're going to do now in the project management env configuration, so this is the other way you can get to the environment configuration. What we're going to do now is add in some extra variables in this location, and I'll use the same method. I'll go into defines and I'll add in customer. So go down to here, and when you hover over it, you can see the environment variable name that is used inside the environment file. So now we'll browse to C, and I'll go back to the default location for user in user library, but now it's been pointed to by the customer. I'll write that. I'll copy these 2 lines from my working area into here. And write that. So now when I restart the project, it'll remember that was already using that xcivil. It's a good idea when you're working on your customization to use a small project, not the one that's very large that takes lots of time to open up. So looking in the output window, we can see we're finding the xcivil. The important variables has now got a 3rd set. It's got the setups, the user and customer, the library, the user library and customer library areas. So now if we scroll down, have a look at our menu, it's now going back to the user menu. That means now it's finding the one in the personal folder. So that's the reference style. Once it's found the file, that's the one that it uses. If we continue down, looking at the rest of it, we've got table styles down here from user. If we have a look now at CAD table styles, we've now got that extra area of files. So now there's 3 files being auto-combined. So we've got the personal one there from customer. In user, we have got the xcivil, and the setups have got their 3 original ones. So now we've got the 5 table styles auto-combined into the one internally inside 12D. So if we have a look at the customer folder, so there's my personal menu, table styles, a workspace file, and this is the environment configuration file that we're working on at the moment. And this is the Civil X user folder. We've got the table styles, we've got some plotter setups, hotkeys, and the user menu. And these files here are used with the plotters. To show you that, we can just go onto here, plot, quick plot, and we'll plot to here. What we've got here is an extra plotter defined. The other ones within the folders are what's shipped with 12D, and this extra one is added to that. So there's no need to muck around with the shipped plotters.4D file. You just have to work in your user_plotters file. All right, we'll jump back into the environment configuration. And so what we've got here, when we go and work with reports or we need a text editor, by default, it will, so I'll just give this 20 and I'll call this one test. When we create a report, it throws up Notepad, and this one here's got the full header. So what we want to do is we want to use a different text editor and change the header type. So one way we can do that is to find out what the environment variable is for the text editor. We can do this by looking in a few different ways, but if we open up the shipped env file, we find here editor_4D. So So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. I'm going to edit the value. I'll go back to the file. I'm going to just copy this location here and paste that into there. So now I've got in here pointing to a new text editor. What I also want to do, I'll write that one out. I'll go down to my working area. I'll jump into Define File, env overrides, and I'm going to go and grab one of these environment variables that are in here. So under Project Reports, amount of report header. So I'm going to go minimal header. Going to go right, finish, and so that's populated this one. I can copy that one across over here and go right. So there's nothing there, I didn't write it. It's got these two new variables in here. Finish. So I'll restart the project now, and of course we need to restart the project for the changes to our setups to take effect. So when you're developing your customization, you may take several restarts as you tweak it to get it how you want. So, so now when we go report, strings, names, we select the view. It's just an empty file because there's nothing in this project currently. We call this one test2. We'll just check what's going on. So now it's opened up Notepad++, and it's just got the minimal header there. So that's a simple way that you can adjust your customization to add in environment variables that point to various things. Now we're going to have a look at the dongles area of our environment configuration. So these are the three areas, so dongle being the second one. So what we'll do, we'll create a few different dongles. The first one I'm going to call stand alone. We're going to use the standard found nodes file, so we won't need to change that. I'll go right just to create the name over on the tree. This area here is where this dongle configuration called standalone has the dongles defined. So what we're going to do, we're going to add in a Weeboo local, auto local, and we'll call that one the same name just for simplicity. Right. Now I'll add in another one. This time I'm going to change. So there's Weeboo local and Weeboo network. There's CodeMeter local and CodeMeter network. I'm going to go to the CodeMeter local. Add that one in. Give it a nice name so we know what it is. Control C, Control V, and right. It's probably selected the wrong one. I'll add that in again. I'll go CodeMeter auto local, add that one. Control C, Control V, and right. All right, so this standalone dongle has got two setups in here. What that means is, first of all, it'll look for a Weeboo local dongle. If it doesn't find one, it'll then look for a CodeMeter local dongle. So you can add some cascading searches for with the standalone what dongles to look for. So now if we add another one, we'll call this one default network. We'll write that one out. And so we've got our original company network dongle. So we'll go and choose the Weeboo Auto Network. The Weeboo Network one allows you to point to a particular IP address or server name. so that it can be found quicker. But for now, I'll just use the auto network one. So we'll call this dongle the same name. It can be called whatever you like. It might be called default network. And so now when we select this default network, it's going to be searching on the network for a Weeboo network dongle. All right, the third one we're going to add in is going to be for a particular reason, and we'll call this one drainage. So we've got a new network dongle that has got some extra modules in it to do with drainage. And so when we want to use that particular dongle, we need to be able to point to it. So when we add that, and this is going to be a code meter. And so the code meter network, there's the network where you can specify a particular IP address or server name. I'm just going to go with the auto network. And so this dongle name, we might call this drainage network dongle. So I'll write that. But there's only a few licenses of this, and if they're all being used, we still want to use 12D. We don't want it to say no licenses available and give the authorization error. So what we can do, we can add another one in here. This time we'll add the auto network of the Weeboo, so that if it fails to get a license for the first network dongle, we can now go and grab one from there. So they won't have the drainage modules, but they'll still be able to use 12D. So that's how you cascade licenses, where you can have several licenses in there, including standalones, and the order that they are displayed is the order that it will search for them. While we're here, we'll go and add in a workspace. And that just means that you can have a saved workspace for different environments, whether you're working on survey or drainage, design, all the different areas. You can have your own toolbars and layout saved. So this one here we'll call xcivil. Go and have a look in the user folder for our xcivil workspace file, and we'll write that one out. All right, so at the moment, we've just been using out-of-the-box 4D, dongles.4D file, and by default, that just goes and searches for a local Weeboo or local code meter. So under Help, About 12D, this is where you find out what dongle you're actually using. And so that's a Weeboo standalone, I believe. So now if we finish that one off and we'll go project open, we'll open up our same project. We'll still use xcivil, but we'll go and grab a dongle. We'll go and point to the drainage one, and also we'll go and grab our workspace. So now when we open up 12D, we should have a different layout, different toolbars displayed. So you can see the different toolbars and are arranged. Our output window is now not pinned up, but it's auto hide. So we have looked down in here. We're using the xcivil, and it's also found the dongle configuration drainage. So under Help, About 12D model, so now it's using a network code meter dongle. It's got a different number. All right, what I'll do now is a bit of an example of what the benefits are of using a customization. So on the roads toolbar is a pavement manager button. And so that, when it's first pressed, if you don't already have a pavement, it puts in an example pavement design for you. And so here it's got the curb profile, the wearing course of 50 mils, and a base layer of 350. So just a nominal starting point design for your pavement. I'll read in a 12DA file that I've just put in the user folder, just to have a starting point for some design. It's got a survey tin and some alignments. So if I go to the design and use the favorites that have been in the user, it just sets up your view for you. I'll do the same thing for this other view. User library design, and one more, I'll just do my cross-section view. And get that ready to go for what I'm about to do. I like to use the profile model string. All right, so in our library, we've got the user library. There's our files we've used for the view favorites. Got the 12DA data that I kept there for convenience, and I've got here 2 MTF seed files. So what I'm going to do is go drainage, design, MTF, drainage, design, apply MTF manager. All right, so the only addition really I've got to this out of the box 12D is just a couple of seed files for MTFs. So if I go and load up the road one, the model I'm going to do is the control line, and enter on that to populate the panel. I'll add it into the design view. I just want to have a few things being displayed. I'm only going to do one for now. So just checking I've filled everything in. Create. What I forgot to do was give it a design tin. So what I'll do, I'll go and select the tin to use, and we'll rerun that. All right, so now if I jump across to the design view, we've got here some design. So there's my design section. But what was also created for me is some pavement. So out of the box, we've just created something very quickly as a starting point for our design. If we have a look at that MTF file that we've used, it's pre-populated with a few things that we're doing here. So it's got some aliases defined. It's got the snippets for the template of the design, an interface snippet. It's got some snippets that are some modifiers that are commented out, and this one here is the pavement snippet. So this one snippet creates all of this. What we'll do, if we look at this job here, we've got an intersection. So what I've got in my seed file is some intersection aliases just commented out in case they're needed. So what we need to do for this one is just to specify the strings that define that intersection, and we'll turn it on. I'll go OK on this one so that it doesn't recalc, and then I'll page down to the intersection 1, remove strings at intersection. So what we've got here, we need to give it a link name. So what we're going to do is remove all the strings through the intersection from the lip. So the KLL, and turn that one on. So these things that can vary on job to job. So in the seed file, I've just got that turned off. So this time I'll go apply, which means it'll recalc the job. And so now you can see that we've quickly got a nice clear spot through the intersection. If we have a look at our cross sections, when we come to the intersection, the pavement stops at the lip line now. And then once we get through to the other side, we've now got the full pavement going through there. All right, we'll go back to the MTF manager, and this time we'll do Control D. I'll just go and grab the curb model and go enter on that one. This time we're going to go and use the curb return MTF seed file. You can see here that it's kept what it already had, but it's added in these extra ones. So alignment CO3 is a cul-de-sac, so I won't do that one. But I'll add in here the tins for the other ones. And also I'll add in the road tins and go create. So it's created CO1, created CO2, created DO1, created DO2. All right, so that's just saves a bit of time in manually doing it. If we have a look at this string over here, we've got the string, but at the moment we don't have any other pavement. So if we have a look at that MTF file that we've got for this one, all right, it's got the aliases, we've got our snippets, but they're commented out for the modifiers for some pavement. And then further down, we've got here the pavement, and that's commented out. So opening up this one, the reason that it's commented out is because it needs extra information that you don't know until you've got it in your job. So what we need for this one is we need the approach string and the departure string for the intersection over here. So first of all, I'll just go and pick my lip string. Then I'll go and pick my side street control line. I'll turn that one on and go apply. All right, so now what we should have in our area here is the mesh for CO1. I'll just get this to the top and go next. And so you can see that it's drawn the shape for the curb, but the pavement it hasn't. And the reason for that is that the section doesn't go all the way across that tri-mesh. So that's why it hasn't shown up in the section view. If we have a look in here, these modifiers here create the pavement for this road area here. But I won't do that now. What I'll show you is in the perspective view, we'll add on here the mesh for the curb return, and also I'll add on the tin for that same curb return, and toggle on the shade. And so now you can see all that is created for this. You've got all the pavement layers, and you can zoom down, you can see the cross-section area of what all the different layers are. And that's just a nominal starting pavement design that can be used as an example to make your own pavement design. that one snippet creates it all. So that's all we'll have time for today with 12D. So I'll jump back to the final slide now. All right, so where to find some information. So 12D comes with an example customization. The ship files are a good example to look at when doing your own customization. The output window is useful to show where files are found and is where error messages are displayed. The help reference is a good source of customization. V12 uses the Windows default PDF viewer. The env.40 editor, or the define env overrides as we used, has most of the environment settings that you can use to modify in your customization. So that's helpful as a way to find that information. The 12D Model Forum is a good place to search for and ask questions about the customization. There's a link to this on the 12D website. Back to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Graham. I think we've got time just to fit in a couple of questions that have come through. Alex in Perth has asked, where do I find help on environment variables and search path order?
All right. It's a good question. So what I'll do, I'll just go into 12D to the help. So this area for the customization is found down under setups and configuring 12D. If I expand that out, the one we were after was environment variables, and there's one there, alphabetical listing. And so here you'll find a lot of those environment variables listed with a bit of an explanation about them, how you turn them on and off. The other one was the search order, but this whole section has got everything there that you're after. So that's under files for setup, and here it is. So here's those 12 areas where 12D search for setup files. But this whole section under setups and configuring is where there's lots of help on the different areas of setting up customization.
Great. Bill in Brisbane would like to know, is there a need to keep the 12D installed content in my company's customization?
Yes, that's it's always a good idea to keep the 12D content. When you receive data from outside of your organization, it will often use the installed customization. So if you don't have that information, the data may not display properly or give error messages and not work at all. So it's always good to base your customization on the shipped content.
Sure, okay. I'll just read out one more question. John in New South Wales has asked, how do I update all my old included drainage files into the new XML file type?
All right. The drainage.4d file is probably one of the more complex files. It's probably best that you discuss this with your local drainage support person. In theory, based on what we had a look at with that simple one, the files that you've got included, you would rename to drainage.4d, but you'd need to have them in another folder location on your search path. And that way, when you go and open them up with the drainage editor, you can open that one up, save it, it'll convert it to the XML format. There may be other issues that you need to deal with, so it's probably best to talk to your local drainage support person, but I believe that would be the the process that you'd need to do.
Thanks, Graham. And thanks to the audience for your great questions. Sorry to those we weren't able to do live today, but we'll answer you by email very soon. The recording of this webinar will be available in coming days through our website and YouTube channel. Our next 2 training webinars are Finding Things Fast in 12D Model on the 12th of July and Inlet Capacity, SAG and on-grade locations on the 2nd of August. So do keep an eye on our website for details of those, as well as our upcoming industry solutions topics. We'll also continue to keep you posted through email and social media. If you need to contact us in the meantime, we'll pop some details up on the screen shortly. And that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you for attending. We hope to see you at future webinars.